Well, welcome to the kitchen, everybody. Chef Brian here today. So coming at you with some braised beef and ancho chilies. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to start off with a chuck roast. We're going to take that chuck roast, we're going to trim it down a little bit. We're then going to take some onions, we're going to slice some onions. We're going to put the chuck roast into a cast iron Dutch oven. We're going to sear it off really good. We're going to put the onions around there, make a nice nest with the onions around the beef. And then we're going to add some wonderful seasoning, some braising liquid, a little bit of beer, some chicken stock, and then of course we're going to throw in some chilies as well. So don't go anywhere. All right, let's get at it. For some of you, once you do open up the chuck roast, it might be leaking a little bit, or some air might have gotten into it and it looks a little on the dark side here. Don't worry, that's just a little bit of air that got in there. This doesn't mean that the meat has gotten bad, all right? So don't worry about that. All right, so we're gonna get cutting on this. When I say cutting on it, I mean we're gonna start trimming this down. So we got some fat right here. We've got a little bit of some silver skin. I've got a boning knife here. I'm just gonna get underneath there and then just slowly, carefully trim that away. Just gonna trim some of that silver skin and some of that little tough sinew off of there. And of course, before I started doing anything today, I already washed my hands just before I started. In case you're wondering why I'm not wearing gloves, this product is going to be fully cooked and therefore I don't need to wear gloves. But if you feel like you need to wear gloves, then you certainly are more than welcome to. All right, so we're almost to the end of the trimming here. There we go. I'm just going to feel it, give it a little rub with the palm of my hand. Not that I'm looking for any bones necessarily, but just in case there might be a piece of cartilage or something that I missed. Right there's some intermuscular fat right there. And that's actually, if you look at the chuck roast, there's quite a bit of intermuscular fat in here, which is awesome, which is going to help when we start with our braising. We got the meat trimmed, and now we're going to take an onion here. This is just a yellow onion. Take the ends off. Make sure you keep your cutting board clean. We don't want any onion skins in your dish. I'm just going to take the heel of the knife, run the heel of the knife just through the first layers too of onion, and just kind of unroll it just like that. I'm just going to take this onion and cut it in half from the top to the bottom. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the curvature of the onion with my chef's knife, cutting them into about maybe a 1/4 inch or so, give or take. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut a 1/2 pound, which is 8 ounces. I'm going to cut a 1/2 pound of onions. So if you notice, I cut halfway through and then I tip the onion over. That just helps with the slicing. There we are. So now I've got my trusty handy dandy scale here. What I'm going to do is I already teared out the scale, so we know that we're taking the bowl into consideration for the weight. And we're just going to set it on there. And it is a little bit strong, meaning a little heavy. So we want Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading that upside down. That's the hard part when you're reading things upside down. All right, so we're at 6 ounces. So we know that there's 8 ounces to a pound, so we're gonna add a little bit more onion to that. And it's a good thing because the refrigerator is right behind me. So, like I said before, same thing, we're going to take the onion, top and bottom off, and keep our cutting board clean, just with the heel of the knife. Score through the first layer or so of the onion. Get in there with your fingertips, and then just peel that skin right back. Now sometimes it wants to peel nicely, and then other times it wants to be a little stubborn. Just work through it, push on through. You master the onion, don't let the onion master you. Alright, so we're going to do this again. I'm going to cut it in half. We're going to lay it on the cut side down, and then like I said before, we're going to follow the curve of the onion. Now we only need about 2 ounces because we got 6.2 ounces, so let's see what we got. Oh my gosh, there's 8 ounces right on the dot. So the rest of this we're going to put in a container and save this for another project. Alright, so some of you might be saying, Chef, what happens if I don't have a yellow onion? What if I've got a red onion? What if I've got a white onion? Is that going to make a difference? Use whatever you have on hand. I mean, especially right now, we don't expect you to go making a special trip to the store to get anything like a yellow onion or a white onion specifically, but just use what you have available to you that's easy for you to acquire. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this half a pound of onions, we're going to take that chuck roast, and we're going to take it over to a cast iron Dutch oven. And if you've never seen a cast iron Dutch oven, I'm just going to move this stuff out of the way. Here we go. Cast iron Dutch oven with a nice tight fitting lid. And we're going to get this good and hot, and then we're going to sear the meat. So we're going to use approximately just enough vegetable oil. You can use olive oil if you wish, but we're going to use just enough to coat the bottom. And we're going to do that next. Alright gang, we got the cast iron Dutch oven on the stove. We're going to go ahead and put it on medium high. Unfortunately, this is an electric gas range. Electric range, not a gas range. If we had a gas range, it would be much better. But we're dealing with a situation here, and we're making the best of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my mise en place table and grab some oil. This just happens to be an olive oil, and I'm going to add just enough to put a heavy coating, not a thin, but kind of a heavy coating of oil across the bottom of my Dutch oven here. There was a fair amount of fat in the chuck roast, but I want to add a little bit more. If you don't have olive oil, that's fine. You can use just regular canola oil, vegetable oil, whatever you have available to you. That's not a problem. And what we're going to do is we're going to wait for this to come up to temperature, and it's going to start to wave. You're going to actually see the oil start to shimmer and kind of bounce around a little bit. So we'll give it a minute or two, and while it's doing that, I'm going to take some paper towel and I'm going to pat the outside of my chuck roast dry. And what you want to do is you want to get that outside of the surface of that meat nice and dry. Paper towel is perfect for that, Because if you don't dry it, what's going to happen, it's going to actually steam, and we don't want the meat to be steaming. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take that chuck roast and we're going to place it right in. Now you have to be careful because it's going to splatter a little bit, so just gently lay it in there. I'm going to turn my heat down just a little bit. I'm still medium high. Don't be mashing on your meat. Don't be pressing down on it. Just let the heat do its thing. If it starts to splatter, if you need to, you can partially cover it to protect yourself. Keep that grease from coming back at you. There, we're getting some color on it. Same thing again, I'm going to turn it over to the other side. I'm going to get all the sides nice and colored.